Hey everybody, Sam here. I'm joined today with Alex from Dominate for 2, and we have another battle report for you, bringing you Retribution and Skorne.
Yep.
We played the Pit 2 today. I did not win the roll-off to go first, but I did end up getting to go first because you chose to give me the side. Because, as you can see, the table was actually really skewed towards one side. So you had one zone area that just had 3 houses around it. These obstructions just kind of really blocking the area off. And then on the other side of that particular table, you had a forest that was just made that side super obnoxious. So you really wanted to go second to not put yourself on that side, because positioning all of your stuff, you actually had more models than I did, but getting around that was difficult.
Yeah, it would have really limited my movement to be on that side of the board, and like you'll see over the course of the game, I kind of struggle with that that set of rubble right just at the edge of my deployment zone. But really, the buildings being on that side was on your side of the board was such a big advantage for me, and like I could have dealt with it, but it really limited the places where Helios could go. Like I knew exactly, where Helios was going to be for most of the game.
Right.
If I could win that far side with all the buildings on it, I could start to position them so that Helios couldn't reasonably attack me anymore.
So on my turn 1, I basically, same thing I did in the game before, just really set myself up where I was hoping to threaten him if he moved forward while keeping my pieces safe. My Griffins, they do out-threaten the Aradus, but they don't actually threaten them until synergy's built up.
Yep.
So positioning him where that could be effective if he came in really hard was just kind of the important, just set myself up. And again, on the side where the turtle is, not giving him just free shots on stuff that doesn't have a high defense is pretty critical. With that, everything on that side, once the Helios puts up his distortion field, becomes def 14 against your rat 6 with the turtle. So it's actually between that and decel, it's the shooting just isn't going to get a whole lot done.
Yeah, 7 against the Helios, but yeah, for
7.
the most part, like it's not great to shoot you.
Right. So after this, I had set the Manticore and the Griffon up. Mainly the Manticore was set in a position where I could run him either way, depending on how you set up. And when you went heavy onto the one side, I chose to bring the Manticore down around the building to hopefully put him in a more impactful position. Vyros is, given how spread out I was down into the forest, I couldn't really bring Vyros. So he had to stay really central, and that Griffon that's all the way to the top is really almost outside of control range.
Yeah, and I think that's the right choice because if you just abandon that Manticore, like or if he goes all the way around the outside, it's not great for you ever trying to get him back in.
No, I don't have enough models to just have a heavy 14-point model running around out of control, just kind of doing its thing.
Yeah, like it would be a shackle on Vyros' positioning and like would just eventually get him into trouble.
Right.
So here we go shooting. What you mentioned about like trying to punish me if I moved up is exactly right, and the reality is the Griffins don't actually threaten my models. So like I'm getting up there like taking pot shots at the Helios and stuff like that, but I ultimately don't care if you throw Griffins into me because it means I get to take pieces without having to overextend or compromise my defensive bunker.
Right. I'm pretty much relying on Helios being able to kind of like drag stuff in, but you and Scott are competent enough, played against enough of that to utilize the inviolable resolve and the huge base to make that a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those. So you're kind of setting yourself up here at this point to just positioning for the scoring turn.
Yeah. I'm basically well, not even positioning for the scoring turn. I'm actually just positioning to receive your army. So, like, setting up overlapping countercharge bubbles. Like, if you are to come into me, I get to get, enough on you that I have reasonable odds of taking something out. And, like, your army does actually have the threat range advantage, and if I let the peace trade get away from me, you can win this pretty seriously, even though you have less pieces. So it's really about just keeping a compressed formation where if you come into me at all, I can counter kill whatever you sent into me and still be positioned to receive more stuff. So like that's the most important thing when playing a low threat, high powered battle group like this. It's just all your pieces really have to be like set up to cover each other. So that's what I'm doing. Like the Arcanists are all basically in range of each other. The bird is in range of all that stuff. Here, like standard operating procedure for me, by the way, is IR goes on the Animantarax to make it even tougher. But then I realized, you're just gonna pull my bug, so I better move it over and have an anchor piece out there.
Yeah, I was hoping that you would leave that off, but when you were hemming and hawing over it, and then ultimately decided on the Aradus, I kind of shucksed there. So it was I saw an angle to get something out there and get a good free piece, but it just you ended up making the right call.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and a free heavy would have just been like pretty ruinous for me, especially if it's one of the Arcanists, because the army really leans on them.
So at this point, I'm now in the same position, where I know that my Griffins aren't going to get work done if I send them in, and they're just going to get completely countercharged. I don't have the model count to just throw up a screen and sacrifice a couple models to kind of, set the line of engagement where I want it. So I really need to, I'm trying to decide at this point if I can pull anything useful, since the Titan was kind of in a way where it was like almost there, and it's just it took me a minute
and a beast handler, and then
right, and it ended up just not really being a thing. But I also knew that with this I had to, I couldn't just give you a bunch of free points right out of the gate. So I eventually have to start coming into contest and just kind of holding things and really kind of let you get into me. So I'm over here measuring things around, checking this. What I end up doing here in just a second is deciding not to throw any pieces at you and just kind of hoping to set a, basically make it so that once you come into me, I don't lose too many pieces. The crucial part of that being that I needed to feat to make that happen.
Yep.
And as you'll see, I completely forget. But before that happens, these Griffins are kind of getting positioned where only the one Griffin right up next to the circle building is going to be able to get charged by the Aradus, which, it's a trade I'm willing to make, a heavy for a light, assuming I don't lose a lot extra. Helios is the one who's actually going to come in and contest your rectangular zone, because at least in your list, if I can, as we saw in the game against Scott, it takes more than 2 turtles to kill a Helios, so 1 turtle is not going to get it done. I am in charge range of the Archidon, but I think it puts out less damage than turtle.
Yeah, it does. And I had considered going for that. In retrospect, that might have been a better idea than what I wound up doing. I had some other plan, and
I kind of figured you would. That's why I ended up making the decision not to feat.
Yeah.
Because I figured, all right, I lose the one Griffin if he charges in, but then I've got the heavies to countercharge in it, and I didn't think you had enough to kill Helios with what you did. So
yeah,
I knew that wouldn't be useful. Now
I think if you had opted to feat, I definitely would have gone for the Helios, because I can still get some Griffins versus I can dump 4 20s, some 13s, some gunshots, and 4 19s into you. That has good enough odds of getting you that, on your feat turn versus getting 1 Griffin, I think I'm willing to try that and just risk what I risk. Because that like central building right there, even with your feet, if I inflict just the one casualty, your reprisals aren't going to be big, and I can use that to really mitigate and manage what you can put onto me. Imperatus is just going to get onto me if I do that, but whatever.
Yeah, no, if I lose Helios in the opening round and that turtle's still standing, I'm in a world of hurt, because whatever I put into him, you're just going to defensive strike and knock him down.
Yeah, you're basically gonna have to send both heavies after him.
Right, and one of them's gonna end up being knocked down, which is not great. So definitely didn't want that. So I ended up repositioning around there. I took a few pot shots since I wasn't charging you to just try to kill a few things, and pass the turnover.
So that's me right there trying to figure out if my Aradus can get range to both that Griffin and the objective. The answer is yes, but the problem is with the rubble where it is and with Zaadesh where it is, I'm kind of shackled and can't get the Aradus in my control area if it goes all the way out there, which would mean I'm basically trying to do that on initials, which is not tenable. So here what I'm doing instead, could go for the Helios, but because, there's also 3 Griffins on the table, and I think, I decide at this point that's the play I want to make, is get the 3 Griffins.
Especially since I didn't feat, there's almost no reprisal for...
Yeah, I give you my turtle, maybe a bug, that's fine with me, because, I basically take away your ease and ability to set up synergy stacks effectively. The one thing about this turn that I think I could have done differently, I didn't distribute my rushes very intelligently. I could have possibly had rush on that far Aradus, so I could have gotten your jack and your objective at the same time, which would have been, that would have been a coup right there, but I didn't do it. And it's just as well, because as we'll see in a few minutes, I just send, the bird in, and the bird just sprints out.
Yeah, he killed the Griffin and ran away, which was not ideal.
Yeah, because it means the Manticore also doesn't have there's a free target, not anymore.
Right. So, because the long leash you had on it. So, having that Archidon in the list compared to the double turtles from the other one was actually much more obnoxious, I felt like, with my version of Vyros 2. If I'd had more Griffins... I would have felt a lot better about some of this, because I would have just had more sacrificial pieces to put in the way of a lot of this stuff.
Right.
But that's all for CID. Once that drops, there'll be more models to put out here. So we got the turtle rolling in here. This time he's loaded up on rage tokens.
Fully loaded up on rage.
So he comes in, he trucks some damage. You were focusing, you didn't even throw an attack on Helios.
Nope, not a one.
Just went all on the Griffins. I ended up remembering to shield guard one of these to Helios, or one of the shots to try to take some of that damage away.
Yeah, those guns were so ineffective against Helios.
Yeah. But you do end up taking out one of the Griffins completely and knocking the other one down.
Yep.
Which is behind the turtle at this point, but he is down, and I believe I lost his shield on your hit too.
Yep, and so the turtle basically scooches in once its attacks are done to pin that Griffin against the wall, such that I can put you're about to see it. I can put my my Aradus Soldier onto that Griffin at max reach, and because it's effectively a medium base pinned to a wall, Imperatus can't get in there onto the Aradus without the Animantarax being dead. So it dictates a lot of your turn flow. I don't know how impactful that was to you, though.
It was obnoxious. I mean, the turtle had to die before Imperatus got close to it because of your defensive strike, knocking it down.
Yeah.
You forced it to happen anyway. It was going to need to happen, but it became a non-issue. Like, it wasn't even, it was a non-starter.
Yeah.
This Krea just trucking the damage roll like a boss.
Yeah.
He did some good there.
Yeah.
But he did end up missing his attack and push. I was really hoping you'd get pushed back farther, because my plan when you started doing this was to be able to walk up with Helios and take out your objective and your turtle, and then your Krea came in and shut that idea down.
Yeah, and this is something, I get a lot of people saying, like, yeah, the Krea's bloat points, or yeah, but why take 2 Kreas? Kreas are always useful. Like, their Animus effectively shuts down guns. You are, with 2 Kreas, your army is functionally immune to shooting. The other thing, like, if you don't need their Animus, or if there aren't great paralyzed targets, just throw them at enemy models. Right. They're a medium-based model with 20 hit points. Like, they don't just roll over trivially. You need real effort to remove them, and they gum your opponent up.
Right.
So here's the Archidon coming in, killing that Griffon, and then sprinting around behind the building. You know, I'm, like, versus Scott's list, I'm absolutely loving the Archidon, because it's that, like, mobile pinch hitter. Like, against more conventional lists, you know, you'll have your brick of heavies, and then the Archidon just hanging out somewhere behind them, and it can countercharge to anywhere in the brick because it moves over your models.
Right.
It also adds a lot of personal versatility to Zaadesh if he needs to be countercharging or making attacks. The conjunction of Flashing Blade and Sprint is really good.
It didn't come up in this match, but having the Archidon sprint away, you know, you run out, you kill something, you sprint back to then where I can't reasonably get to you without getting countercharged by a ton of stuff. So you end up passing the turn here, and I'm in a world of hurt. I've lost all my Griffins. Synergy is going to be hard to start getting going here, and I got this turtle in my face that I can't get. You know, Vyros can't get close to it. The Imperatus can't get close to it without just being knocked down and become irrelevant. And
crucially, the Agonizer is also within range such that basically wherever your Helios stands, he's in range.
Right, which I didn't notice till after I made...
after you started the plan going.
Right, so I'm over here trying to figure out how to maximize the amount of damage I can put out, knowing that pretty much I have to kill that turtle and then at least take out another beast. I was planning on trying to get 2 beasts with my turn, and then hoping that at that point Helios becomes just too obnoxious and too difficult to remove. So I'm planning that out. I do still have a lot of, like, less models to hand out, means I got more focus to put around, so all these jacks are going to end up being completely maxed out and loaded up, and they're going to start going in here. So Helios has to go first. I really didn't want to do that because you had Environable Resolve up. I have no way to really deal with that, aside from maxing Synergy out, but because of his positioning, you didn't put yourself close enough. I had no other choice but to go in with Helios first. So I make my first attack. Then that's when we realized that, hey, there's an Agonizer giving me -2 to my strength, which just can't happen. It was taking my +1 down to a -1.
Yeah.
And that turtle had to die, so I didn't have a choice. So we checked it. It was barely in by the tiniest of margins. I probably could have stayed a little bit further back and been safe, but I was not paying attention to him. So I end up, after my initials that I swung, I did miss one, which also hurt a lot. But
yeah, for sure.
After that, I do... I do my dual attacks to shoot that Agonizer and just get him out of the way. We were checking the wall. We did determine that he was not actually close enough to the building or on a proper line to get the cover. So I was able to get him pretty easily and push him out of the way, and then keep rolling on the turtle. So it ended up getting to the point where I needed to roll a 13 for damage, and I did with boxcars on the final attack to remove him. Otherwise, this game would have been over a lot.
that would have been real bad. You only needed, you were dice +1. You just needed an 11 because he had like 12 hit points. But yeah, you got it.
It was a big kind of, you know.
Yeah, the missed attack took you out of what should have been a comfortable margin to do it to you were unlikely, and it just turned up. So, like, more or less standard picture of how that should go.
So now that I got the turtle out of the way, I'm trying to decide how to best utilize the rest of my pieces. I'm trying to see if Vyros even has a shot here at doing anything useful, but if I bring him, as I'm starting to check here, as if I bring him in, the chances of him getting killed on the next turn are just too great.
Oh yeah, he's super dead.
Yeah, right. So I end up deciding to send Imperatus in first. You get your defensive strike, which hurts a fair bit.
Yep, pull you into Agonizer range.
Yep, which is also obnoxious since I was standing outside of it. Actually, no, I believe I was inside of it the whole time. I didn't have a choice on this one.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But Imperatus does have a ton of attacks, and I was able to get rid of this guy with. I think I actually even had a focus left over, maybe, or it might have taken everything I had. But I do end up getting rid of him, and protecting Vyros as best as I can with this. So get through these rolls here, and at this point it's kind of like, all right, now what do I do? Because I got Vyros chilling. I want to throw that Manticore in there and kind of try to get another heavy. So because so far the plan is going relatively well.
Yeah.
They believe this is the last shot that takes out the cranked the damage roll on that one in fine form.
So your defensive position right now is actually like really solid on that one side, like, because I don't have anything in range to come in and start retaliating apart from maybe the Archidon, and he's not going to take out either of those two on his own. Yeah. The one thing that's going on here that's a problem is the far flank for you has effectively collapsed. Right. Like, you still have the Manticore over there, and you still have rando models, but there's just not enough board presence to sustain it against what's over there.
Yeah, and I feel that I do end up deciding to send the Manticore. And when I had pushed the Agonizer with Helios, I tried to push the Agonizer in such a way that it would actually block one of the Araduses from doing a counter charge. I was trying to set this up so that it'd make it a lot tougher, because I knew I was going to get hit a ton by all your stuff when I came in, and I was just hoping to minimize the amount of damage that you'd be putting out here. But there just doesn't seem to be a way to get it without getting into you without being able to, and not take a bunch of hits. I was also cognizant of the fact that the Archidon has crit pitch.
Yes.
Which is really obnoxious.
Yeah. I love counter charges with crit pitch.
Yeah, I mean it's less guaranteed than the turtle, but just as frustrating. So
yeah,
I am positioning Vyros here a little bit before I do the Manticore move, because I had realized that if the Manticore charged where I wanted, he'd be out of synergy range, and I had to have synergy since the Agonizer would be like 3 inches from the Manticore. But I need to make sure that I didn't just give you a Titan charge onto Vyros too.
Yep.
So, as much as Imperatus is difficult to remove, if you somehow manage it, a Titan and Vyros 2 is not going to go well. So,
yeah.
I get this lined up so that I can get in on the Archidon, so he doesn't really get a charge. He still gets to make his defensive strike, but that's so be it. And you get to do all of your defensive strikes, which hurt a lot more than I was expecting.
Yep. So we got the Archidon does a bit of damage. Another soldier turns out does have a charge lane to just come over and drop an initial claw into the Manticore, and then the one that you charged throws its bite into the Manticore. And I believe the first counter charge took out an arm.
Yeah, I was actually, after you started rolling on the damage, I was really shocked that I didn't lose my Cortex. Losing an arm still hurt quite a bit. But yeah. I did have one up, so I was able to get the boosted damage roll, and really only lost the 1 dice on one of the attacks. But I was kind of really hoping that I would kill you, and that ended up... I'm not sure if the math would have worked out in my favor regardless.
Yeah, and you don't have the concentrated power on the Manticore, and like
he did have.
Oh, he did have concentrated power.
He didn't have the force generator on.
Okay. Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, that's one of the problems with Manticores is like at Mat 6 and their base POW of 15, like if you look at the focus map for their output under a whole range of buffs, like they don't do much damage. They don't go toe to toe with other heavies. Like you need warm up damage. Yeah. And like I'm actually surprised that Manticores are ubiquitous as they are, because that's some really essential math for a heavy.
Yeah.
Like that Jack would hugely benefit from being Mat 7, because that would at least like flip the profile on certain defensive ranges.
It's not happening in the CID. Nothing's changing for the Manticore that we know of. Yep. So at this point, I threw the heavy in there. He didn't kill you. Did do some work. Yeah, I think you had two systems crippled, but it's Horde, so that doesn't mean anything.
It's notably my Agonizer and my Krea up on his Helios frenzied. So at this point, I'm basically going to try and take that one, the far zone, get that objective, get my points, and then I also noticed partway through the turn, if I get, if I basically get a good Grand Slam distance roll on Imperatus and kill that one Arcanist, I can actually get the center zone as well. So my Gladiator Grand Slams in, slams Imperatus 7 inches, kills Lanyssa, kills Shyeel Arcanist, and then just sits there. I know he's going to die, but he bought me a point, which is sweet.
Yeah, and it was doubly hurtful because Lanyssa, I had forgotten to activate her on that turn. She shouldn't even been standing there. I had plans for her, but I had forgotten, and so I paid the price on that one. And yeah, at this point I saw, okay, this is great, but now I'm going to start losing. I'll lose the Manticore, and then just really at this point start to kind of like things fall apart. That Krea being in front of Helios so that I can't dive in there and start threatening Zaadesh was actually a big problem. Not being able to trample over a medium base made me very sad. I was wishing I could change the rules right there.
yeah, because it's a lot of, because your activation count is so low without the Griffons, like it's a big resource commit to get rid of that POS light, and literally all it's doing basically is running. Like,
right.
Sometimes that's all you need from a light.
Right, and I was even looking at like, okay, if I put Vyros 2 into it and kill it, can he repo back far enough out of the way to give Helios a chance to go through? And it just wasn't. It just didn't work out for the amount. So it just at this point you're just kind of messing around here. You can throw the Archidon out to go kill and take this zone, and then start to really pressure me on scenario and on attrition. So now I'm the one on the back foot.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Aradus gets the objective done in 3 attacks. The bird goes in. You had shot one of my Swamp Gobbers on your second turn.
Yes. And
in just a second, once the bird gets that Arcanist, that second Swamp Gobber is going to run in. That's another difference between mine and Scott's list. His is way more attrition-oriented because he doesn't have a second unit. It's just
he's running the Swamp Gobbers.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he does have the Swamp Gobbers. He uses them quite effectively, too.
Oh, okay.
In the last game, there was a really obnoxiously positioned house that was a problem.
Yeah, because that's, like, Swamp Gobbers make clouds, and, like, you can conjoin that with Zaadesh and the Bog Trog who make clouds also, but, like, the reality is you're paying 2 points for a Speed 6 unit that can run and score zones, and that's really important when your army is this much battle group.
Right.
Like, or run and contest. They're just fast. And actually, the more I've played this list, the more of it has become microing, like, the backfield, such that the Swamp Gobbers and the Bog Trogs can be scenario relevant.
Right. Since this Bog Trog, as you can see, is down, stopping me from being able to actually grab this rectangular zone like I wanted. So right now I'm positioning to make sure that I can get all 3 of these models. I have these high hopes of being able to kill all 3 things and score 2 points, because at this point you scored 3 points on that last turn.
Yep, I'm going to get a 4th too.
Right. I can't put anything in that zone without really compromising my position even further. I mean, Vyros obviously would die. The Arcanists that I have left are needed elsewhere to hand focus out.
Yeah, and I've got free outs with counter charges to kind of like, no, get out of here.
Right, exactly. So, and I also have a Titan Gladiator staring me down in the face that I have to deal with.
Yeah, that's the big hand forcer right there, because if that guy gets a free run at Vyros, that's not great.
Right. So I'm out here measuring right now, trying to sort out how to get this guy, because right now Imperatus doesn't actually have the movement to make it through the forest on a charge. I have line of sight to him, but I don't have the distance without putting Easy Rider up. And Easy Rider is a spell that unless you're going for an assassination, you don't want to put it up. It's too expensive. And so I'm trying to figure out how to get around not doing it. And in a minute, I'm going to realize that the Helios actually can just pull and grab that guy and yank him in and then make that a lot easier. So, but I have to figure out how to get all this synergy worked out. Since I need to kill the Titan, it has to die.
Right.
And I also need to score a point, otherwise I'm just going to lose trivially on the next turn. So I'm out here puzzling, trying to figure out how to get my synergy chain started how to get everything in, and I end up having to send Vyros in. I do see that if I kill your rush target, then it makes the retaliation back on Vyros a lot harder. When I did end up positioning him was just outside of Zaadesh's charge range. Zaadesh is not Pathfinder, so it actually was a little bit shorter, but
yeah,
it ended up, I was just outside of it. An Archidon could get on me, but it was unlikely to get through. I ended up camping on a couple focus, and I just don't think you have the dice or the math for that. The dice could spike, of course, but
yeah. So I get building the synergy stack. So Vyros punches the Gladiator in the head. And Vyros being in melee with the Gladiator is about to be a big deal in a minute. Something I want to point out that you could have done, because your goal basically is to drag the Gladiator such that it's in Imperatus' charge range, but you didn't want to risk a counter charge. I need a 9 to hit you. I think it would have been worth it to just back Vyros up and say, do you want to come at me? If the answer is yes, problem solved because I have to get closer. If the answer is no... you're not, you didn't have to take a free strike to get there, and the Helios just needs to hit a 5.
Sure.
And it turns out to be a big deal when you miss the 3 dice to an 8 on the first one and have to take a second shot. Because that basically takes you down, it's 2 focus to kill the objective, or it's 2 attacks to kill the objective, 2 to kill the Krea, 1 to kill that guy, and a gunshot to get rid of the Beast Handler. You needed all your focus, and having to dump 2 into the Gladiator really hosed you hard.
Yeah, the other thing was that I hit the objective. What I was going for was that I hit with Helios. I hit the objective trivially. The Krea was a def 12.
Yeah, so you need
6s
5s
to hit him.
Yeah.
Well, this was before the synergy chain. That's why I really sent Vyros in, was to start the synergy,
to get
take
that
6 to a 5, and the Bog Trog from a 7 to a 6 to hit him, because missing any of those attacks was not going to work.
Yeah. Oh, it was 5s to get both. But yeah, you were surrounded by 2 models that you absolutely needed synergy to get rid of reliably in the number of attacks you had to allocate.
Right. Since at this point I have so few models that I don't have any choice but to just... everything has to hit and stick.
Yeah, so the take home of that, the Krea's still up there right on the Helios. The Beast Handler is still in the zone, but Imperatus gets on the Gladiator and, just dumpsters him in a few attacks. So you go up by 1 point for taking out my objective. It's not the 2 that you wanted.
Correct. And you do score a point because I have no way to get up there and contest you. And at this point, you are up 4-1, and you are just going to win trivially as long as you can remove Imperatus out of the zone.
Yeah. So that's actually, because of Imperatus's Phoenix protocol, it takes so much to kill him. And my army, because I'm actually struggling a bit with that building and with threat ranges as well, because I don't actually have the hitting power to remove him in one go, and I basically don't as long as you don't come into me. So the plan goes then, I remember my mistake, I'm just going to try and crit pitch you out and score 2 points, and that's what happened.
Yeah. Alright, so how do you think overall it went?
I think overall it was an interesting game. The decision not to pop your feet on your turn 2 was definitely costly. Losing the Griffins was a big deal. I think if I had thrown my hand at taking out the Helios, that's still not bad for me, but it's
still
it's
not
less
sure
likely.
If the dice work out because you only had the Turtle and the Archidon that you could get on.
Yeah. I'll work out that math later, but obviously it wasn't my first choice.
Right.
And not feeding gave me my first choice, which is, cripple your reach.
Yeah, for some reason I had it in my head that I would pop it later on in the turns to become more scenario relevant and move stuff around, but with such a low model count army, I need to make sure that engagement happens the way that I want it to happen.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a mistake I made later. I'm wondering if when I threw that Manticore in, if I really should have just left him back and maybe threatened whatever piece you went after my objective with.
Yeah, that might have been... I think anything you come into me with is free models for me.
Right.
So,
I have to kill a model. If I send a model in, it has to kill something.
Yeah, it has to be minting big value. I think if you had hung the Manticore back, yeah, you would have probably been more reliably able to get what you wanted out of it, and maybe forced me to overextend. It would have definitely prolonged the fighting on that side around longer than it did. So I think that would have been a good move.
Right.
So yeah.
All in all, I don't think the matchup is bad. I could have.
I don't think it's bad either.
Better.
Yeah.
Zaadesh is just so obnoxious with all of the different things you have to consider. I managed to do a little bit better on clock this time, but it's just such a time sink having to constantly look at it, especially with the Archidon, because he's back there as a flight model that you have to consider as well with a crit pitch. I mean, it's not even just and that's. That's all the time. That's the countercharging. The turtles, you only have to worry about the defensive strike knockdown for one turn. The Archidon's out there the whole time.
Yeah,
it's something to worry about. So
the best piece of tech that I've only gotten to do it once, but when an Aradus countercharges an enemy model into its back arc and then pulls it such that it's not in melee with what it charged and not in melee with the Aradus. That's obnoxious.
Yeah, that sounds brutal. So
I got that off once and it was amazing.
Luckily that wasn't on me.
Yeah.
So far, it's not. Anyway, not on film yet.
Yeah.
So anyway, you have any other final thoughts?
Terrain was really decisive in this game.
It did matter a lot.
Yeah, I'm still ambivalent about my decision to choose sides because my Cloud Wall trick is not very good into you. It doesn't do anything.
It's irrelevant.
But, something I'm watching this Zaadesh list for is it seems to do better on second because it doesn't have a lurch turn where it's doing nothing like it does when it's going first. And actually just thinking about it more, how this game played out, I still didn't have that lurch turn and I was basically able to start engagement, which is the dynamic that I want. So right. I think that was all in all the correct choice and just really getting to dictate where Helios could be. So that's it for me. Awesome. Good game.
Well, I'm gonna stop playing Zaadesh for a while. We'll see how it comes out. Then we'll try this game, try this over again. So anyway.
By the next time we do one of these, I'm gonna have my Protectorate ready to go.
Oh, perfect. All right. Well, thank you for dropping by, Alex. Appreciate it, and thank you for watching.